right, welcome everybody. Before we call the meeting to order this evening, we're going to hear some presentations from the candidates for the Library Board and the RCS District Board of Education. So first we have a Library Board candidate, Sandra Mortensen. Would you please come up to the podium and tell us about yourself?
Thank you. And I live on River Road. I've been there since 2011 and also lived on Elm Ave with the Selkirk address earlier than that. I am presently, I have a degree in psychology and education. I am presently the assistant director for transportation, which is, pardon me, all the jingling. I just came straight from my office, for Bethlehem Central. And I've been there, so I've been a preschool teacher, I've been a bus driver, and moved my way up to assistant director. I am responsible for all of the routes that carry our students with special needs, so I love my job. And it's unique every day. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me here. Libraries are extremely special places, as most of you know. But for me, I can tell you that in sincerity, they helped me raise my children. We've moved different places, and I have great stories, like even on vacation. My husband, Jim, and I are both in the transportation industry. The joke is he makes sure there's food at home and I make sure the kids get there so they can get there for dinner. He's from the Western New York, well, the middle Finger Lakes region, and he came from a farm, and my kids were so excited to go out and see the farm for the first time when they were in their teens, and the first thing they wanted to know was where the library was. And they spent most of their time on the boat and then in the library. And they've been that way since very small. We made sure that they were great avid readers. But so we know that it takes a village to raise a child, but we also know that the library is that special place in the middle of that village with very special people. I have not only been able to enjoy all the things that are afforded through a library, along with my children, wonderful adventures, the literary adventures you take when you get a great book, the movies you can check out, the activities that happen there, but also we've been able to have them just touch us in very special ways. So I've been very lucky to have been a friend of the Bethlehem Library for many years. I was a secretary and also the president. So I got a chance to see the workings of the library from a business perspective. I also run my own business, so I have a good business acumen as well. And it was very exciting to be able to provide libraries with what they needed when the budget couldn't afford it. And I hope that not only my understanding of how libraries work, my energy in wanting to always make the library closest to us even better, and my enthusiasm and my children to RCS. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. So hopefully I will see you again, maybe reporting some exciting things that are happening there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. All right, next up we'll hear from the Board of Education candidates. Sorry?
They're going to do their community library budget presentation.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Mike.
Just
It's on the podium. It's on the podium.
Clicker up here?
Yep.
Okay, yay.
So just kidding. We're
Just
not
kidding.
hearing from the Board of Education candidates yet. RCS Community Library budget presentation.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Newman. I'm the newish director of the RCS Community Library. I can't believe it hasn't even been 2 years yet. This year, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary of being a school district public library. I always tell folks that the modern library is right there in your back pocket if that's where you keep your cell phone. Our apps let you find out what you have, what you want to have, and keep track of what you have checked out. We also offer 2 streaming apps for books, audiobooks, my favorite, movies, music, and magazines. Our copying service is so popular that we recently had to place a call to the copier company for service, and our copier was the photo imager was 40,000 copies over the recommended life of the photo imager, and we haven't had the copier for a year. So there's that. As with last year, physical item circulation is still growing slowly, and digital items, especially audiobooks, have seen very rapid growth. Oh, did I do this wrong? I forgot to put in a page about statistics, and I'm not sure if this page about statistics is going to be next. So I'm going to go forward. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm not going to read the statistics. Needless to say, when the budget newsletter gets printed and sent to your homes, you can read them all yourselves to see that everything is growing at the library. We have about 9 programs every week. We're circulating physical items, digital items, and people are using the study rooms like nobody's business. All right, so back. This year, the board approved a 3% tax increase, which is under our allowable tax cap of 3.6%. As you can see, we're taking in more receipts for printing, donations, and applying for grants. However, pilots are decreasing. Boop. Now, there we go. I'm relieved to say nothing is broken. If you remember last year's presentation with our happening porta potty, nothing major has broken this year. So as you know, it is quite a bit, it costs quite a bit to heat and light a large building as well as maintain an old one. We're doing our best to monitor energy uses and keep up with ongoing maintenance projects. I'm sad to say that, oh, that was facilities, so there you go. I'm sad to say that the largest increase in the budget isn't for the fun, good stuff like books, supplies, or digital content. It is to cover the double-digit health insurance increases and New York State retirement increases. We're doing a very small increase in the program budget because people, like I said, like to come to our programs. We're keeping operational costs stable, and we're cutting back as best we can on discretionary spending and travel costs. And because I downloaded this as a PDF, I feel like everything is out of whack and I can't see it. But that's the thing I just talked about. Does anybody have any questions? Cool.
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
Now on to the Board of Education candidates. First up, Dan Baker. Welcome, Dan.
So good evening, everyone, and I appreciate things are moving along really, really quick. I really appreciate that. So thank you for allowing me a few minutes to talk about myself and talk about my vision and our goals as a community. If you don't know me, my name is Danny Baker. Born and raised here in the town of Coeymans. Went to Ravena schools, graduated in 1985. My wife is also homegrown. She's a registered nurse case manager. We have 2 children. My daughter, 15 in 10th grade, and my son Danny's a 7th grader in junior high school. Prior to working for the town, I worked in various manufacturing facilities around. The biggest one, I spent 20 years across the street for Lafarge Wholesome. I was in the union for 10 years. I was the vice president during that time, ratified a few contracts, and then I moved on to management. And that was probably something that probably helped me end my career because it got to be very stressful, and it was a tough time during raising children at a young age, and it just became too much. Then moved on to pharmaceutical manufacturing. Same exact thing, no different than a cement plant. Started out great, and it turned into 7 days a week. And I wasn't missing my children. You only get one opportunity to raise your children, and I wasn't missing that. Then I moved on to mattress manufacturing. Again, another great position, and it was right at the beginning of COVID. I was the production manager at Serta Mattress, had to lay off 125 people. Had to bring all those people back. And again, you guys know exactly what that means, bringing people back, taking people's temperatures. They got sick, you had to send them home. It was a very challenging time, and we got extremely busy, working 14-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, and again, it was not for me. So I moved on. I sat on the town board for the town of Coeymans, and my first run, I got elected. It went very well, helped ratify a budget with no tax increase. I ran again and got reelected. The highway superintendent retired, and the board asked me to run for that, so I was appointed to the highway superintendent. And then I had to rerun for that position, which I won that election. Had a very good year last year. We came in under budget. I'm responsible for about a $1.1 million budget. We have 9 unionized CSEA employees, and currently it's been going very well. We maintain 50 miles of road, and I'm very, very happy working for the public and taking care of and trying to make the community a better place to be. A few reasons why I chose to run for the Board of Education. Most importantly, the children. In my opinion, there's nothing more important than the children, your children, my children, everybody's child at the school. It's extremely important. Secondly, the staff and the administration. The staff is where the rubber meets the road. The administration is extremely important as well. And I was advocating for teachers. We need teachers to stay in this district. Don't want to see any more teachers leave and move on for more pay or whatever the reason may be. We want the teachers to stay here. We got good teachers. We need them to stay here. Thirdly, the bus drivers. I advocated for the bus drivers. Again, extremely important. We have a $52 million budget. We encourage the kids to stay 10th period. Everybody knows, multiple text messages, no 10th period buses, no buses. I went to Greenville, I went to Bethlehem, I went to Cooksaki. What are we doing wrong? We don't pay enough. I advocated pay more to the drivers. Let's get drivers here. And I think the board did eventually up their pay, and I think that's kind of leveled out. And again, what an extremely difficult job, right? I take care of the roads. Sometimes the roads aren't always in the best shape. Those bus drivers have a tough job navigating sometimes difficult conditions on the roads. And again, they deliver our most important possession in the world, our children. So again, my hat's off, and I love the bus drivers. Fourthly, and it's not really in any importance of order, the community. Our community is extremely important to me. Our tax increases. I sat on the town of Coeymans board, and we tried not to raise taxes. We went 3 years with 0% tax increase. We got to watch our taxes for the community. The community is what's funding all of this, and the state as well. But the community is very, very important. So I have a very vested interest in this community. In closing, I want to say thank you to the past and the present board members, to the administration, Dr. Bailey. Very difficult time during COVID. The school bus drivers, again, I don't know how you guys did it. Our kids stayed home. All of the teaching and stuff that went on. Nobody knew what to do, right? Nobody knew the answers. Nobody knew what lied ahead. But again, I think the teachers did a great job. Dr. Bailey led his team through uncertainty, and I just want to thank you guys for that. So those are just a couple quick snippets why I'm interested, and I want to work hard for you guys. I want to work hard for the community. I'm honest, I'm transparent, and I'm vowing to do a great job. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Next up, Melanie Potter.
Hi, my name is Melanie Potter. I have a recent graduate from RCS, a soon-to-be graduate of RCS, and an 8th grader, and I myself graduated back in 1998. And I had asked to fill Teddy Reveley's spot back a few months ago, because if you have ever met me, you know that RCS is my passion. Same as Dan said, from the bus drivers to the teachers, my heart especially lies with the SPED population and their parents, and most importantly, the community. I really believe that we just all need to communicate. That is, I think, 90% of what we should be focusing on is all communicating together between ourselves on the board, the school district, the teachers and the admin, the community, all having a say in what goes on in educating our kids. And that's obviously the number one reason we're here, is for a great education for every child, from those with the greatest needs to those who may one day run our country. So that's it.
Thanks, Melanie. And our third candidate, Matt Miller.
Good evening, everybody. Let's start out with saying I was Melanie's teacher, and Miss Hill Burns as well. So again, my name is Matt Miller. I live in Selkirk, up in Trinity Manor, and I live there with my wife, Karen, who is an elementary principal, at Coxsackie, Athens. She actually spent the first 23 years of her career at Peter B. as a teacher. That's why we moved to the community. We were both teaching here. I have 2 kids that graduated from RCS, one in 2016 and one in 2019, who are off doing wonderful things now. So I know we have a wonderful system here at RCS. I did retire. My job, most of you guys all know me, for the community that doesn't. I retired in last June after 30 years as a biology teacher here at RCS, and among many other things, I guess. But I am still working, just entering my 2nd term as an Albany County legislator. I represent Selkirk, South Bethlehem, Glenmont, a little bit of Delmar, and literally by half the school district is in my legislative district. So nobody really cares about the litany of things you did when you're here, but I do want to run through a couple, because I think it shows what I'm able to bring to the community in terms of my wealth of knowledge, both in leadership, in RCS itself, and well, I'll just go through it. So what have I done here? Besides teaching for all those years as a biology teacher, I've coached sports. All right, so I understand the sporting world. I coach baseball, softball, and golf. I was a class advisor for the classes of 2000 and 2016 and 2016. I started the Science Olympiad program here, run that for 27 years, even in the capital region as well. I was a SAD advisor. I was district's one and only energy manager for the years that we had that. As far as understanding how a district runs, some of you guys will know, for the last 20 years plus, I've been on every budget committee that was ever created. I sat on it. I spent many hours in policy committee meetings, O&M meetings for a lot of years. The CNI, obviously, both as a teacher and as a labor leader. So I've done a lot to understand, and during my energy years, it was giving me a real good insight into our physical facilities, which is actually an important thing people forget about. It's a big cost, right? But how do we keep sure those stay maintained well enough to produce a good education? So all that stuff together has led to why I decided to run for the school board. I spent all my years teaching, advocating for students, advocating for my professional colleagues. I'm now the county legislator, where I advocate for my constituents, and I want to continue to do that for our community. I know we offer a good education here. I want to get on the board to help ensure that we continue to offer a world-class education for our students, but that we also can do that in a very fiscally responsible manner for our taxpayers. So again, with all that knowledge I have, I think I'd be a good addition to the school board. I care a lot about this district. It's been my life for 30 years, and I want to continue to give back to the community in this role. And I think, again, we can be great, and I want to help us continue to be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so next up we have a public hearing on the school district budget. And is there a presentation? Yes, there is. Here comes Jesse.
Good evening, everybody. This is a budget hearing, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop at any time and ask them. This is kind of summarizing everything that I've gone over before in the last 4 or 5 presentations we've done. More high-level stuff, but again, feel free to stop any time if you have any questions. First off, we're going to review the revenue for the 24-25 school year. The tax levy, which is the local cost, is the largest at 51%. That was an increase of 4.26% to a little bit over 28 million. State aid is at 20 million. We did see a little bit of a decrease in the state aid this year over the previous years. Our foundation aid did go up by 120,000. But 2 of our expense aids, driven aids, transportation aid, and building aid decreased. That's because we did see less expense this year, so we will not see as much aid in the following year. Other revenue, the majority of this is a pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes. We did see a small decrease in that. This is a large increase from last year of our other about $500,000. That's because of interest. We're getting a lot more interest earnings on our bank accounts that we didn't see as much last year. And then last and final is our fund balance. So this year we are budgeting in a deficit, and what that means is we're using our reserves or our fund balance to fund the expense plan that we're putting forth. Too far there. So this is our tax levy limit compared to the cap that we've done for the last 5 years. You'll notice all the way to the left there for 2021 and 21-22, we were flat. And that does have effect, as I've previously spoken, that it does limit our ability to tax in the future. So we need to consider that in the future because we are seeing less state aid than we have in previous years. So we have to make some of those decisions going forward that we are going to be leaning a little bit more on the local revenue and less on the state aid in the future. So you see all the way to the right where our tax, we're going at a 4.26, and that is within the limit of 4.45%. And at the bottom there is the breakdown where it is an increase of a little bit over 1.1 million. So this would be the estimated tax impact on a $100,000 house. I know there's not too many $100,000 houses around here. If you have 200, you double it, 300, you triple it, et cetera. These are based on numbers for previous years, so these aren't exact. We won't have final assessments till July or August, so this are our estimated numbers. But this would be a estimated impact on homes, and that's within it for a year impact increase. So this is our expense plan. By statute, we have to break it out into 3 different areas. Administrative, which is basically includes salary and benefits for administrative, staff development, tax collection, legal, auditing, business office. So that, and then program cost is basically all the instruction, teacher salaries, teacher benefits, supplies for the students, transportation, and capital is debt and building and grounds and maintenance of the buildings. And you can see that our program costs are the majority of our costs, with administrative being about a little bit 8.75% and capital being at 14.5%. Overall, we're seeing an increase in the budget of $1 million. 1.92%. The big ticket items, we also saw, like the library, a large increase in our benefits. Health insurance went up double digits, and also our retirement costs. We also added a few other positions. We brought some positions back that we used to have COVID money. We are now they are in the general budget. And we are investing in about $125,000 worth of cameras for the middle school. Any questions on that? Again, if I'm going too quick, just slow me down. So some of the other things we're voting on, we are going to do we're proposing a small capital project for the bus garage. We have a lift that is in dire need of replacement. So we are going to like to invest in getting an upgraded lift to be able to lift a electric bus, which is a lot heavier than the diesel buses. So we'd like to invest that and also do some much needed upgrades to the electrical system of the transportation department. So there's no budget increase to this. In years past, we've used this money to purchase additional buses. But at this time, we feel that we have enough buses with the decreased number of enrollment that we have and also the decreased number of runs that we have a sufficient number of buses at this time to transport our students.
You spoke a little bit about the electric buses a while ago. Can you speak to that a little bit? Is that coming down the pipe?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So right now, as far as we can no longer purchase any diesel buses after 2027, and then 2035, we cannot have any of them. So we have to have all electric buses. So currently, right now, we're doing a study on exactly what we need. This will be a year study done by an engineering company. They'll give us the requirements that we need how many buses we need, what our infrastructure needs to look like, and everything that we need step by step. And then we'll be able to report that to the board and come up with a plan on how to implement this. But it's definitely a concern across the state, probably across the country, with supply chains and yeah, Bethlehem, right? Yeah. It's definitely a concern, and it's not just a concern here. There's a lot of questions that myself and my colleagues, and I know Dr. Bailey's colleagues, haven't been answered yet. So.
When do you think you'll see the first ones? Are you guys going to test them maybe?
Here, I'm not even going to approach that yet. My first concern is our infrastructure. I don't think we have the infrastructure to be able to handle it. So I think that's our first, and we don't know exactly what we need. So that's why we did this study. I also like to mention that we are looking into see if NYSERDA will help fund this program. So it might come in a little less than that $500,000 if we can get some grant money towards it. So we haven't heard back yet from that. Any other questions on the capital project? And this will be a separate proposal on the budget. On the ballot. So you guys heard, also on the ballot, we have 3 open seats, and you heard from the 3 individuals this evening. Also, we have the library budget, and we have 2 seats with 1 candidate. And finally, I always like to do this. If the budget were to go down, and everybody cross your fingers, we could go back out as a revote. And that would be done on June 18th. We can make changes to it, or we could go out exactly the way that we did before, or we can go straight to a contingent budget. A contingent budget has a lot of regulations to it, and some of the big ticket items on there, and if you would like me to go into a little more detail, I'm more happy to do that. But the big ticket items on a contingent budget is there's no tax levy increase. So it will be the same tax as the previous year. No equipment purchases. no public use of the building outside groups without their fees being covered, rental of office equipment and field trips of instructional program cannot be provided unless self-funded. These are by statute. The board has the authority to assign what they call ordinary contingent expenses, where they have the right to say what those items are. Again, I hope it doesn't get to this point, but I do like to review it so people realize what that means. Teachers and everybody within units do get salary increases, but if you have a contract and you're not within a unit and you're not certified, that you would not be eligible for increases. It's a few amount of people, but it does affect some of our staff here. What, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What you were referring to as the non-instructional
Yeah, the
employees.
non-instructional ones, yeah. So all the ones within units, and all the non-instructional within units do get their raises. Basically, it's the business office and the treasurer. So, any questions on that? And again, hopefully it doesn't get to that point, but. Capital project, I think that's a separate proposal, but that's a great question. I would have to say that would probably be taken off, but that would be a board decision. Any other questions? All right, and then everybody come out 21st, 7 a.m. You'll see Sue and I smiling faces in the high school gym. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Justin.
Actual voting. Can there be some communication to families that they cannot go to the voting area from 9W when school is being let in and let out? So like if I drop my daughter off at 7:30, I can't turn and go vote because there are still students and buses, which is fine. I respect that, but some people may not know that, and that might have been their plan. So if we just kind of alert them ahead of time that you can't cross the parking lot during arrival and
The
dismissal.
communication might be
Just
good,
some kind of
yeah.
communication
And
so that
we
families
do
know, because I
additionals.
know.
We do additional signage too, but yeah, no, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, I noticed the sign is still up from the Touch a Truck event over the weekend.
Yeah,
We could just
that's
update
not
that.
us.
All right.
I noticed the same thing, but yeah, we don't have it, I don't know where that came from, so,
All right.
But I know I
I was
was,
hoping maybe it just could be reused.
no. Yeah,
It was a great event
yeah.
for what it's worth.
So what has to be done in that circumstance? They need to exit, go around
have to
up to the
exit and go
other
all
entrance?
the way around.
Yeah.
It's because the bus is in the middle.
Which is
Yeah.
fine, just so that people know,
Right.
like,
Yep.
I can't plan to go vote after I drop off my daughter. Okay, I'll go after later on.
You can, you just
You
have to.
can go, you just gotta go
you have to
around.
route around.
Take a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
I don't have the time
Yeah.
to drop off and then do that.
Last year, when I was dropping my son off in the back, so the 101 parking lot, a lot of elderly people were coming in and parking there, thinking that's where they had to park.
And then
So I
walking.
actually had to, there was probably 5 or 6 people I had to tell them they had to go back out and around, because the way they put the sign, it made it kind of look like that parking lot when you had to go down. Because you're parking in the
Oh,
back.
you mean, back behind the gym instead of,
Yeah,
okay,
so
right
they
by
were
the school, I got
They
it.
were parking right, because they saw all the cars coming in, dropping off the kids, so they thought that's where you park.
Okay,
And then,
you got it. We'll add
didn't
some
realize you had
additional
to
signs
go.
for that.
just, yeah, because, it's earlier and that they were just there.
Yep.
Assuming. Just a
Could drop her
suggestion.
off on the 101s.
Okay. Is anybody else here this evening to comment as part of the public hearing on the budget? No? Okay. We'll move into our regular meeting then. It's 6:37 PM on May 8th. I'll call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Please silence electronic devices and we'll stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sue, are there any additions or deletions to note on the agenda? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the April 24th meeting? Thank you, Mike. Second? Jackie? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, let's move right into business considerations. We have 6:1 through 6:12. Is there a motion for one or more? Thank you, Bray. 6:1 through 6:12, second by Jackie. We'll open up for discussion, and just first, I'd like to note the donation from the RCS Middle School PTSO for what looks like a ball pit with balls to be used as part of the PE program. So thank you for that.
6.11?
That is 6:11, yes.
11.
Yep.
I hadn't noticed. Same.
Are you familiar with the
Yeah,
ball? So
I'm the vice president over there.
what is the,
It is a
just
gaga
briefly, what
ball
is the ball
pit.
pit?
Have you ever heard of
No.
gaga ball? So gaga ball is a octagonal, big thing, and you throw balls. It's kind of like dodgeball below the waist. And so we had seen it at a couple of camps in the Y, and it's very, very popular. And we got one that can be collapsed, folded up, and stored. So it can be used in gym classes or indoor recess or whatever.
Great.
Yes. Ms.
All right.
Baker was very happy.
Anything else on the business considerations?
12. It looks like it was approved, oh, hold on, sorry, it's pulling it up. It was like approved in January of last year, but wasn't used until April of this year. Is there a reason there was such a lag, and like, did they apply for it and hadn't decided what to do with it? Okay, it just seemed weird because the approval date was
Yeah.
1/10/23, and then they
That
didn't go
really
on the
does,
trip
yeah.
until 4/30/24. It's just a long time.
They may have been, it's unusual for the state to allow that to be so far in advance either, but maybe they were forward-thinking and they did do it last year in thinking about this year. It's funny because you see the signature date is a week ago, but
Yeah.
the approval date is, yeah.
And maybe that's a typo, I don't know. Maybe it was 1/10/24.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it's an error on their part too. It could be.
Because that would make a lot more sense time-wise.
Yeah. Just like schools, it's hard for the state to plan beyond the fiscal year, so I'd
Yeah.
be surprised.
Hope they have fun.
Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Personnel considerations, 7:1 through 7:12. Is there a motion for one or more?
Moved reluctantly. And I think she knows why.
Are you moving
So
for all?
the whole load,
Okay,
yes.
motion for 7:1 through 7:12. Second? Jenny? So I guess to start the discussion, to Mike's point, we have a retirement on here from Ms. Newbart, from A.W. Becker. So we're sad to see that, but happy for you, and we wish you the best.
Yes, congrats. Yes. I just have a quick question. 7.8, is that like just brand new approvals? Because baseball season's over this week. Like, to me, that should have been done a while ago, if we're having assistant coaches. Is it? Do I say, or do I miss it? But
That's retroactive, and we've discussed this before, that
we have to
coaches
approve
need to be
it.
approved before the season starts,
Yeah, oh,
before they're
yeah.
out there with kids. I mean, that's a huge liability issue, having people out there that have not been board approved for an entire season. Nothing against these guys,
No,
I'm sure they're great, I
nothing
know some
against.
of them, but it's a procedural thing that we've been over and over many times, and it keeps coming back to us.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't get them approved before, then they shouldn't be coaching. They shouldn't be on the field, they shouldn't be on the court, period.
That's why I was just curious. I don't know what it is. It doesn't really say, so I'm.
So is there a reason for that one being backdated so far?
I don't know if it's an update, I don't know.
I don't know.
Just throwing it out there because, like Barry said, this has come up many a times, not only by the board, but parents questioning why we have people on the field that haven't been approved yet.
You can't set foot on a field for Pop Warner unless you have certification. I mean, seems like we should adhere to something similar to that. You have to have a tag and certification, everything.
I would say that we just did a posting for this, could it be for next year? And I just misunderstood, I don't know, because our form here says 23, 24, but I don't know, it could be for next year.
The effective date is March 11th, though, it says,
24.
of this year, so.
Right, so that would be
I mean, that was 7
presumably
months
this
ago.
season, yeah. I would assume that's the start of the
have to ask
baseball season, thereabouts.
Just want to put it out there.
Very good point. Thank you. Anything else? All in favor? Aye. All right, Dr. Bailey, we'll move into your report.
In light of Debbie's resignation, I wanted you to know the process that we'll be following. You'll see a posting going out publicly tomorrow for an elementary principal at A.W. Becker. The process will include committees of families and staff where we will vet qualified candidates, and they'll go through committees allowing all the stakeholders to have a voice in the person who's finally chosen. We're going to put out July 1st as an intended start date, knowing that that's a little tight because most employees need to give a minimum of 30 days notice, depending on what their role is now. But we certainly hope to have whoever the successful candidate is installed by the end of July at the latest. It'd be great to have them July 1st, but in July. We also saw a resignation on there for our Assistant Director of O&M. That position has been posted in anticipation of that. As you know, it's an important job. Bill is one half of the equation, and this person has been doing a lot of our exterior work, our field and grounds work, so it's an important time to have that position filled. Jesse and I are going to be presenting the budget, basically the information we did tonight, but also some of the instructional components of the budget to the Community Business Association next Wednesday at Rail to River at their regular monthly meeting. And also, the budget newsletters have been printed, and by regulation, they're not allowed to be mailed until after the hearing. So they're ready to go. The mail house, we happen to get them back at the beginning of this week, and you can imagine the planning that goes into trying to compile the entirety of what we've done for the last 4 months into 4 pages that covers all of the mandated information. The newsletter will be mailed tomorrow, but knowing that rural delivery in our communities is tough. Carriers, sometimes if it's a P.O. box neighborhood, it's easier. They just put them out publicly and people can take them. But those routes that we're walking, depending on what the flow of mail is, they might wait until it's a lighter day to deliver them. So we're glad to be able to get them out tomorrow, but know that it might literally take 2 to 3 weeks for everyone in our community to get them. They'll also be available in public locations, in every one of our main offices, in the public library, and it's available digitally online. And because we always know that board members, and this is an unusual year, board members could have applied up till 5 o'clock tonight, but even without that, the board members are not featured in the newsletter, but there is a link to our webpage in the newsletter and on our budget page so that anyone who's interested in reading the bios for the candidates, they can do that there.
Media pages. Okay.
Yep, it'll be pushed out through social media as well. Likely tomorrow, because we're able to go public tomorrow. Jesse presented on the capital project, the $500,000 capital project. I wanted to confirm the project is around bus lift and electrical upgrades, but learning from our past, we would like to include the second lift if there's money left as an alternate in the project. So in the description in the budget newsletter, it calls that out. So we're not saying we're going to get 2 lifts and do electrical. It says 1 lift, electrical, and if enough funds remain, we will replace the second lift, which is around the same era as the first one. But I just wanted to clarify, because the list we showed just said bus lift and electrical. There'll be an alternate for a second lift if we're able to be able to do that. We met with the construction buildings and grounds this afternoon for construction updates. The state has not yet approved our proposal for the project. They do anticipate it to be at any time. But as you would imagine, the timeline is short for us to be able to operationalize going out to bid. So when we finally get the approval, we'll make the hard decisions about whether and what we go out with this year, or maybe we hold on some items so that we're sure to get rates that are reasonable for our taxpayers and we get as much as we can for the money that we have. Everybody's in the same boat though, so although it's a volatile market, there are lots of other schools jammed up in this thing with us. So if they don't have their approvals and we don't have our approvals, they're not going out to bid yet either. So we still remain optimistic. I know Jesse's the air handler, the what is it called? It's not Sahara Dry. I always get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, the dehumidifier for the pool is finally within a few miles of our building.
Yeah, our contractor has it. Yeah.
Yes,
so
so waiting for the
Bill will
contractor's
be,
availability to do that install, but at least the product has been manufactured and it's ready to go in. And we'll strategically do it at a time when it's least disruptive to our students and our community. And the last thing, which Jesse will probably talk about, the playground at Peter Bay. You see all the materials are still there on the ground, and we're just waiting for a contractor to finish up one job and come on site and finish it.
yeah, we're, because of the rain this week, it was supposed to be installed this week. So we are scheduled for next week, Monday, to start installation.
And hopefully this was just a rumor, but I want to make sure that that's all it was. I heard someone talk about that we had run out of the money to have a contractor do it, and that our O&M staff was going to have to be
No,
installing that.
absolutely not.
That is exactly the answer that I was hoping you would say. Like I said, I'm hoping it's a rumor, but I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
And the work will obviously, will also include the rubberized coating. There's a little bit more drainage that has to be done that Bill's talked about in the perimeter, but this will ideally resolve all those long-standing water issues that are in that playground. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Thank you.
Just a couple of updates. Can you hear me? Around pre-K, we've got 12 families on the waiting list at Becker. There are currently 6 spots open at Peter B, and those have been slowly filling up. I've begun drafting the contract with Circle of Friends, so we'll have some spots there, and some of the folks who are on the waiting list have already indicated an interest in taking some of those spots. We have our pre-K and K screening starting next week, so that communication has gone out to families from the schools with their appointment slots, and all of those screenings are happening here at the high school. There'll be signage up so that families know where to go, but it allows them to come into the building without having to sign into the main office. They come around back to use the gym over here. Am I pointing in the right direction? Okay, this way. My internal GPS isn't great. Thanks, that way. And then the other thing I wanted to update folks on, I just came out of the Code of Conduct Subcommittee meeting, our second one, our fourth one, actually. We sent proposed updates to the categories for behaviors to our attorney. We are waiting for that to get back to us. But in the meantime, at each level, we developed short and long-term action plans, goals that we have around the Code of Conduct that the team is then bringing back to their BLTs for next week to get some review and input, and then we'll finalize those recommendations and be able to summarize them for you folks and everyone else. And really, one of the goals that we had in our discussion today was taking What we are looking at and identifying as needs that came out of the data around code of conduct and behaviors and dispositions, and trying to think what we want to accomplish and where it aligns with some of our other work that we're doing through BLT subcommittees, through PBIS work at the buildings, through the Middle School Climate Committee. So instead of trying to think of things in silos, we want to make sure that we're being strategic about how we're approaching this work. That's in line with what we already have sort of on our radar is important. And in doing that as well, as we were working through it today, we identified goals for each level and work that we need to do at the district level as well. So I'll be able to share that out after our meeting on the 21st. And that's it.
Thank you. Jesse?
So I was going to talk about the capital project. Anybody else in the Building and Grounds Committee meeting that we had today? Is there anything else that you want me to touch on? I think we covered everything. The other thing I wanted to discuss tonight, I got an email asking a few questions around transportation cars with field trips and sporting events. So I just wanted to kind of run through how that worked and where we are with like the budget and other things. And if I don't answer all the questions, feel free to ask additional questions. So we do have a budget line for athletics transportation salaries. That is currently at $50,000. Field trips budget for salaries is at $25,000. So that's just the transportation salary costs. The way that each individual building has a budget for field trips. This current year, the 23-24 school year, high school has $15,000. Peter B. and A.W. Becker both have $7,500, and the middle school has $10,000. We're proposing to increase that to $17,000 for the high school, $10,500 for Peter B. and A.W. Becker. And the middle school is at $12,000. So the way that the field trips work, they put the request in, and after it's approved, they take the total miles. The salary is not charged back to those field trip codes. The salary is for the driver is hit at that field trip budget code that I first discussed. But there is another cost associated with, and it's kind of wear and tear, is what we call it. And what that is we take the total expenses for the transportation and back out the salaries. And we base that on mileage. So we take the total expenses from the transportation department and back out the salaries, and we do the total miles for the year, and then we get a cost per mile. So what that is kind of like a wear and tear on the cost of wear and tear on the buses. So when somebody puts in a request for a field trip and they say it's 10 miles, right now that calculation this year came out to $1.31. So if they were going 10 miles, we'd say it would cost $13.10. Obviously, it's usually longer than that, but that's how we calculate that cost. And what happens is we associate that cost when people put in requests for field trips.
I have this amount per building, and we're looking to increase it. So the $7,500, generally, it seems as though the district chooses not to charge families for field trips, which I am in full agreement with. So the cost for field trips includes whatever they're going to attend, and
Yep.
then the transportation cost.
Not the salaries, just that wear and tear cost on the buses. So the salary goes to the general fund pays that for the bus drivers, but the wear and tear is transferred over into that field trip budget line.
So if you're looking at a school district where, if you're looking at a building with 8 grade levels, you have less than $1,000 each for them to cover the cost of the trip for an entire grade level of students, wherever the field trip may be, $10, $5 a person, and then how much per mile, the $1.31 per mile?
Yep.
Okay, does that realistically give them the opportunity to take field trips that are in-depth enough and meaningful enough and engaging enough? I feel like less than $1,000 is pretty small for an entire grade level to take a field trip. And I know that PTAs and PTSOs have been asked to provide assistance, and while we're willing and happy to, I really think that is something that should be explored. It seems that it could be something we could talk about. Maybe we've missed the opportunity for that this year, but
Is there something in particular that you want us to look at, or?
I'd like to know if it's realistic. Are the teachers feeling that they're able to take the field trips that they want with that budget constraint? And the associated cost for transportation. So yes, you're saying that 10 miles is probably unrealistic. So that's $13 that they're paying for the field trip, but is that enough in consideration that they're also paying for the cost of the field trip?
So I guess one way to look at this is, in prior years, has that budgeted amount always been fully used? And have there been excess requests that had to be denied because the budget was already expended?
I would probably know more about that than Jesse. There have been years where it hasn't been completely expended. It's less frequent than when it is. In most of the buildings, the building leadership team looks at the request for the year, and Jesse's been great about having the principals and staff project out, what is it you want to do next year? Let's not wait by accident, here's $10,000. Where are we going to go? Instead say, we want to go here, here, and here. There's strategic and relevant parts of our curriculum. How much will it cost? And let's budget that. That's the mindset that he's approached as far as this budget development has gone. It is not how buildings have approached it. One building got pretty close to being able to do that this year. But that's really the way that, to hit where you're talking about, Jenny, is what do we want to do and why? And it really does have to be relevant. And then we make sure that money is budgeted as we roll into 25, 26. So the BLTs look at the field trip requests from all of the groups in the buildings where they're asking. So it's in the first few weeks of school, and then they look at how it fits into the curriculum, and they divvy up the money, and they make the decision. And BLT is a mixed group. There's usually a parent, the building leader, and teachers and support staff from the building. But I would say there's not a blank ticket, and there's never enough money for everybody to do everything they want to do. No question.
I guess what I'm hoping is that if we determine if this is enough, then I guess I'm looking to know that they're able to do what they want to do. And if they are, great. I just don't think we have any baseline for knowing if that's the case or not. Or maybe we do, and I just don't know where that would be found or how we would go about getting it.
So you mentioned that $1,000, oh, you mentioned $1,000.
I was just taking the number and dividing it by the number of grades within the school.
By the grade. So that would be divided by $10.13?
Well, I mean, it's more, that was just an estimate from her, right? I mean, there's other things, some grades might not do anything, right? So then they'll have more to it and all that kind of stuff, so.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, so I guess if you,
$10.13.
it's $1.31 per mile,
It's $1.31 per mile.
yeah.
We are, based on Jesse's calculations, and I've got it right in my head, a little over $67,000 we spend on field trips, including, the buildings each have an allocated amount, and then there's $15,000 at the district level to pay for salaries as part of that.
Well,
We're very fortunate to have that. That's not a normal thing necessarily. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have more. I'm very grateful that we do have what we have.
well, I'm a little bit more comfortable knowing that it's 763 miles, per that $1,000. That's some area to travel.
The $1,000 is not just transportation though, Mike. The $1,000 that Jenny was talking about would be
That's the $1,000. Just say for one grade, the $1,000
for what? 1,000,
to take a field trip.
so that's transportation plus whatever it costs to,
So that's Jesse's number of $1.31.
Right, but
Per mile.
what Mike's saying is not just the transportation costs that go within that $1,000. It's also, I'm going to Five Rivers and that costs $60 to bring, 10 kids,
The
you know.
kids, the kids got to, the
Yeah.
payment for the children have got to be made out of that
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
So that's,
Okay.
to be honest with you, that's where the majority of the cost for these lines come out of,
Okay.
is the admissions to wherever the individuals are going.
So how is this handled then during the summer camp? Because
Separate budget.
That's separate, yeah. That's grant funded, so that's completely out of the general budget.
separate, okay, because I know they do a load of field
Yeah,
trips.
yep.
Yeah,
So the grant funds all of those field trips?
Yeah, the Discovery Camp, absolutely.
Discovery Camp,
Through
yeah,
the summer, yeah.
yeah,
We're going to have some decisions to make in
That's a budget discussion.
okay.
Okay, I guess I have an associated question in regards to field trips too. My daughter participates in an extracurricular group, and I was told that they are not allowed to go on the field trip that they had been working towards and planning because extracurricular clubs are not allowed to take field trips during the school day. I read the policy associated with that, and I don't see anywhere in it that it says that. So I'm curious why the administration and teacher I spoke to were under the impression that they're not allowed to approve extracurricular activity field trips during the school day.
We go to school during the day. I mean, kids are in class, and we're trying to encourage academia and ensure that they are present. And, I mean, same thing we would do on any given day. So we try and limit disruption. We do grade level trips during the day, which is true. We do curricular trips like the NISMA Festival. But we try and limit the other types of trips, extracurricular trips that might occur during the day.
Okay, it's one trip for a group of students for potentially half a day, and there's nowhere in the policy that states that that cannot be approved. So I'm curious why
I just
those
told you.
administrators don't feel,
I just explained it to you, that we want our students to be in school, in class.
And I'm saying the policy doesn't say that. Why not?
Administrative decision. It's for the best of the educational of the kids.
Is there a point in the school year where those become acceptable? Is there a point at the end of the year when
Or if it has educational value,
testing?
why can't it be considered?
I couldn't hear what you said, Jenny. I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said if it has educational value or justification, why can't it be requested and then discussed?
If it's curricular, we absolutely, we allow those things.
Some of the other issues that come up is with the busing as well. So if it falls in that time where this bus is gonna be gone during pickup and dismissal and that kind of stuff, one, we're down a driver, which,
They
as you
didn't-
know, screws everything up. And then two is when these students come home, how are we gonna get them home at the end of the night? I'm not saying it's in this case, but I'm saying that does
Okay.
come into some of our decision-making
And
as
that,
well.
from what I understand, was something that they considered and tried to take into accommodation, but they wouldn't even, they didn't progress to that level because they were told they can't take trips. I don't understand how that just isn't in the policy and it's a decision that's made without even any consideration of what the situation is.
Sounds like maybe there's a misunderstanding what the policy was then. There's no blanket prohibition on trips during the school day, right? Because we know that NISMA and other groups do take those, but it would be evaluated on a case-by-case basis?
Correct.
Okay.
So if this club would like to participate in it, they should submit for it and it's not going to be turned down until it's considered?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
So this club should submit their request for this trip, and then it can be determined whether it's appropriate or not, and it's not necessarily going to be turned down on its face.
Right? It's a principal approval or denial, and then the superintendent.
Yeah, okay. Because I was given the impression that they were not allowed to even ask for that, so I find that concerning. To be told that by an administrator and a teacher.
But it's our belief that students should be in class during the day unless it's a curricular trip. That's probably the discussion that they'd had, not that don't apply. They were explaining that it's not our practice to approve. We have 60 clubs in the district. If we allowed 60 clubs to take trips during the day, it would be extremely problematic, as you would imagine.
Right, but I'm not suggesting that 60 clubs take a trip each day or throughout the course, 60 clubs take a trip throughout the course of the year if they have the funds and they've done the raising on their own and it meets an academic purpose, or honestly, a purpose for the club. I don't see why it can't be considered and why the
I mean, art clubs.
administration has the impression that they're not even allowed to ask for that.
Art clubs, Spanish clubs, they get approved for things all the time, so
I don't think so. So unless it's curricular, no.
Yeah, yeah. it would-
Curricular, yes.
Yes, yes, it would be related, but it's a extracurricular club. It's not a class going.
The art, those classes went in, we had students come here and participate in an academic event, and we had the language students go to other buildings and teach other students. That is unquestionably of value to both parties. So yes, those were approved.
I would think that if it has an educational basis, that we should be encouraging those clubs to be doing those kinds of things. I mean, we generally would consider, if a kid is going to an educational event, that is considered an excused absence. So I would think that we would also want to encourage that if a club is going on something that can be considered educational, related to whatever club it is that they are doing, I would want to see those encouraged. Because it allows for more in community involvement, it lets the kids have, obviously the classroom environment is very important, but getting out of the classroom environment is also very important. I think we discussed this a lot with the Discovery Camp and how great it was that we could see the different things the kids could do. And I think that one day of them going to do something different would not be detrimental, so.
Yeah, we always welcome those organizations to do it after school or on a weekend or on a break. We try not to have them leave school when we have classes.
I still stand by what I said. I would like to see
Yeah,
it more
that's
encouraged.
Not necessarily true, because GROW takes their field
That's
trips.
curricular. As part of their program.
And I think also that making them only be after-school activities makes it much more prohibitive for our students that are not in financially great situations. It's already an issue that a lot of our like middle school and high school kids don't have transportation to get to like after-school events. They can't participate in anything that's after 10th period because there's no way to get to our campus without a car. You can't expect a kid to walk from there to here. And so that already, like, you have a lot of kids who miss out on every dance, any of those kinds of activities because they simply don't have transportation. And I think requiring those clubs to do these outside of school hours altogether every single time will make it more prohibitive for those kids as well.
But if you have them out of the classroom, it's an absolute nightmare for the educational process, for the teacher, for the other students, for the kids that are missing, because then they've got to make up work. It's a nightmare. I mean, if you have them out once, that's that group once, and then another group wants to go once, and another group wants to go once, and there's no continuity in the classroom.
But
Our main goal, our purpose is to educate. So when we're in session, when we have classes, the kids need to be in class if at all possible.
And real-world experiences provide education too.
Real-world experience can be gained after the school hours.
Not for everybody in this district.
And a lot,
30 years of experience, I'm telling you, it's a nightmare when everybody wants to go during
but
the
a
day.
lot of these are planned during half-days or at the end of the school year. If they're being planned appropriately in a timing where there's not instruction that's going to be missed.
If there's not instruction, then we're not doing our job.
Why are we doing anything if we're not instructing them? That's the point. We have school 180 days. That's the number of days we should be teaching our students.
But they're still
And
being
they're
taught,
being
they're just being taught in a different way.
Tell me that you don't have to use math and social skills and science and all those types of things when you enter into the community. And teaching them how to do that appropriately and with appropriate citizenship and civility have value too. You want the students from this district to go out and represent us well, to be able to function outside of the classroom. I think that creates a well-rounded student, and never providing them with those opportunities denies them that.
We
Nobody
have
said
lots
never.
of curricular trips that allow them to do that.
Okay, and I'm saying if it's a curricular trip and it's not even being brought up because they're under the impression that it would be automatically refused, isn't appropriate. And maybe
I would
I'm
argue that we do
misunderstood.
not have a lot of curricular trips. Each of my kids have gone on one trip this year.
Jenny, is
That's
the-
not
is the
a
trip in
lot of
question
trips. I mean, and
curricular?
I'm not saying it's insufficient, but I wouldn't say that that's a lot of trips. That's one per grade in a whole school year. To say that like one more day for an extracurricular club, especially who has done their due diligence in preparing for this, them missing one day,
Is the trip in question curricular in nature?
I think it could be. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of what the teachers intend to accomplish specifically, so potentially.
If it is, and it can be justified that way, it should be submitted then for consideration, I would
Absolutely
think.
should be submitted, yes.
Okay, and there's no policy that says it cannot be approved during the school day. It'll be looked at based upon the merits of that request.
Right, no one, yes, exactly.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what I'd said. They're more than welcome to apply.
Okay. I guess my larger concern is that there was an impression that the policy was different than it was written.
I'm sorry, I can't understand.
I said, I guess one of my larger concerns is that it seems as though the policy as written is different than what the teachers and administrators think is the case. But the policy exists for reasons, and that's how I feel.
Well, hopefully we've clarified that understanding if there was a misunderstanding. If there's that curricular connection that can be justified, then apply.
I don't see the curriculum.
Anything else, Jesse?
Can I just go back real quick? I just wanted to say, because I don't know if it's on here, but the prom was this past weekend, and I heard wonderful things about the prom. And then I heard, I was unable to attend, that we did, I think it's the first time I'd ever, like, a walkthrough through the high school where anybody could come, bring your children that were going to the prom, and people could see it, and I heard that was great. I don't know what the turnout was, but I'm hearing nice things and people saying that they hope that's going to continue in the future. So just thought I'd put that out there. So for the prom was at a different location in Coxsackie, so people that, because parents usually can't go to the prom.
Okay.
I mean, you can, but you can't.
Right.
They did like a walkthrough at the high school where if you wanted to come here with your child, so everybody could see, I don't know how it went, I didn't
Okay.
come, but I heard great things and people are saying they hope that continues, so.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody attended, but something different and people liked it, so.
And I didn't mention the middle school play because I thought I was giving other people.
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow, yeah, it's coming up, the play.
It's
too.
tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. Tomorrow at 6, Friday at 7, and Saturday at 7 here in the auditorium. It's Annie Junior, right? Yeah, there you go. $10. Come one, come all. I was leaving that for you.
I know Peter B. had their Touch a Truck event out here over the weekend. It was a very successful event. I think everybody had a great time, but I also wanted to appreciate our maintenance staff who helped out anytime that literally we needed anything. The transportation staff who had the bus here to show the kids through, and all of the local businesses that participated. There was a lot of participation in this. Kudos to our PTO for putting it all together, but also all the community organizations. There were multiple food trucks. There was any truck that you could see down the road here was in our parking lot. You could probably hear the horns from Bethlehem. But the kids had a great time. It seemed like a really successful event, but I really wanted to appreciate our own staff for being there on a Saturday, supporting, coming to the rescue when a tent went flying across the field before people got there, thankfully. But, the maintenance staff were right there to support, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. Any new business items?
Go ahead.
Mine's real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to, I was shown a report yesterday about damage to computers, Chromebooks. The middle school is disproportionately high. I know our elementary kids don't take them home, and high schoolers seem to be able to take care of theirs relatively well. But maybe we need to look at something with Chromebooks.
I can't understand what you're saying, Mel. You said something about the middle school and Chromebooks.
Chromebooks are
Chromebooks are
being damaged.
in middle
Being
school. Maybe
damaged.
tell them
Yeah.
not to take them.
There's a lot of damage going on. There's,
What is a lot of damage? Where's the information?
I'll get you the report. I just wanted to bring it up that maybe we could talk about it later so that you guys had a heads up and we could look into it. But
Would you share the report with all of us?
I will ask her to, yes. Yeah, Katie came in yesterday with data and I wasn't prepared for it, but I thought maybe we should look at that.
If she could share it with Bill, I have a technology advisory committee be tomorrow. That we'll
Oh,
need to take a look at
perfect.
that,
Look
yeah.
at, see, that's why I was meant to bring it up.
Yeah, my daughter's Chromebook is quite sad.
Yeah, there's, it was me being in the middle school yesterday that brought it up because there are a lot of damaged Chromebooks around. So that was just something we can look at.
Okay. Becky?
So I had a couple of things. I saw you sent over the workplace climate survey. It looks like there was options at the top to look at it by building, but those links don't seem to actually be available on the PDF version that we were sent. Could we see it broken down by building as well?
After the buildings have had a chance to go through it themselves.
Okay.
We went through it yesterday in the leadership meeting, and then we want the buildings to look at their own data and,
Okay.
have some conversations about it.
And were all the questions on the survey just like multiple choice answers, or did they have the opportunity to provide actual narrative?
Also, open-ended questions as well.
Okay, so that'll also be provided to us once the buildings have had the opportunity to review it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Another one, it was brought to my attention with the baseball fields at Peterby, which it looks lovely, but I've heard a couple of people mention that the baseball teams start practice before Peterby is done with school. And the trouble with that is that half of our classrooms face that field, and getting any of those grades to focus while they could be watching baseball has become a little bit difficult. And I know baseball season is wrapping up, as you said, but if there's any possibility that next year maybe we can schedule it so that it is less disruptive to Peterby's classrooms, I think that would be appreciated.
I would agree. I think it's before, it's not practice. He has them attend early before the games, and he has them there very early. And as a mom of a child on the team, yes, they should be starting after school is out.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
a
becoming
pain
very
with
distracting to
and,
kids.
Pick up all of that. Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree.
That was one of the issues that was brought up when they
Yes.
moved the main fields down there in the first place.
Yes. If
Yeah.
you're gonna,
Yeah, they need to be scheduled after school
Games don't
because
start
we
till
can't.
4:30. He can start his warm-ups at 3:30 or 3:45. There's
Yeah,
no
or
reason-
they can warm up somewhere else and then travel over there, but being
No,
in
we
direct
can't
view
because
of.
we have a bus.
Oh, sorry.
Most
Best I
parents-
had.
Most parents drop off, but there is a bus for children that need to get from the high
Sure.
school to Peterby.
Yeah, but it's become, half of our classrooms overlook that field. And any kid on a sunny afternoon watching a bunch of bigger kids play baseball is not going to focus on anything else. And I think it's becoming an issue for some classrooms.
I think, yes. Children, yes, but there is a lot of issues with the driving and the buses. Oh, aren't they coming from here to there? Wouldn't it be handy to send them over with a driver going to Peterby? That'd be smart.
And then I was just wondering on the recent, I know we sent out the email recently about the cameras being used in the schools. Do the cameras have sound or do they just have audio? Or sorry, other way around. Do they have sound or do they just have video? Sorry.
No, if they have sound.
Oh, okay. The most security.
Like the ones here,
ones
they're
don't.
dome cameras, they don't have the capacity to do that.
Okay,
The
thank you.
buses have sound, those are different, but
The buses have sound, but like the hallway cameras and cafeteria ones don't. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Was there a communication that went out to the community on the cameras? Is that what you said, Jackie?
2 or 3 Fridays ago.
Yeah, I think so. Before the last board meeting, I think it had gone on the website. Ed had pointed it out to me.
Okay, good.
And then the other thing, I want to make sure that this actually goes on to old business because I didn't notice it on there. We discussed before the temperature in the elementary art and music classrooms. I don't want to lose sight of this, especially as it is already getting warmer before we hit the beginning of next year and then we have those kids back in classrooms that are 100 degrees or teachers needing to move their art and music classes to other locations. I really would love to see that looked into further and hopefully resolved before, we're looking at Labor Day and we have overheated classrooms that can't be used again.
Right now, and they're going to
Okay.
get back very soon.
Okay, thank you. Can we add that to the old business just so we don't lose sight of that? Thank you.
Is the architect also looking into there were some complaints about the upper floor in this building?
I think we're going to do he's doing an overall, but there was an emphasis on those classrooms.
Okay.
I didn't hear of that one, but I believe they were doing an overhaul for the whole district. I can talk to them about maybe looking into this a little quicker.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the entire second floor, or certain classrooms on the second floor, but there were complaints last June about the temperature upstairs in this building.
Okay.
I would imagine the same applies for the building, or the classrooms that face the front of the school at Becker as well. I mean, because they have pretty big windows. It might not be the
Yeah.
same extreme, but.
Yeah, no, I know the ones that I've heard from multiple people are the most problematic are the art and music classes in both elementary schools. That there's not a good way to provide proper ventilation in them.
'cause they're also
And the
kind of
art
in
and
the
music
middle.
teachers kind of get displaced into having to like ask the teacher to use their classroom for their period or something. And that means, you know, for a music or art teacher, that means bringing all your stuff with you, which is
Not convenient.
substantial. And, you know, for art, that may mean making a mess of a classroom that a teacher isn't comfortable with you making a mess in. Or having to adjust all of your art projects to accommodate not making a mess in a teacher's classroom. And it's also cutting down on their time because they have to bounce between rooms instead of being in their space.
It's valid.
All right, anything else, Jackie?
That was it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? New items? All right, old business. Anything to share on the playgrounds? Jesse?
Just that we're gonna be installing them next week, hopefully if the weather holds off.
Okay.
And then we do plan to meet again for the pre-K playground at Becker. There's another committee meeting for that.
What was that last part?
Oh, we're gonna have another meeting for doing the pre-K playground at Becker.
Oh, the pre-K.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
The playground will take to install? Like, will it actually be usable before the end of the year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You mean at Peter B?
Peter B,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
They do it very fast.
Okay, I just wanted to make
The-
sure,
again,
you know, the
it's-
kids have
it's
been
the
without
weather.
a
I can't-
playground all year,
Yeah,
so
I
it'd be
mean,
nice to have
if the
at least
world,
like.
if the weather holds off, I think by the, I'm gonna say it in public, but it's gonna jinx us. But hopefully by the end of the week,
Okay.
we can have it
Oh,
up there.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't gonna be like, it won't be done till July.
No,
So,
it's much.
That's great.
We've
As long
had
as
much
it
more
can-
success with this vendor than the last one.
Excellent. Thank you.
So, Dr. Bailey, I know you emailed the results of the community survey, the disaggregated results, and those have also been pushed out to the buildings now to take a look at. So with that, I think we can take this tracking item off of old business, so we can remove that to the results of community survey. We'll add in something about the temperatures at the elementary and high school buildings.
Can we add something about looking into if the field trip funds are sufficient for what teachers and grade levels want to do? I know that would take longer to track, but
I think that comes back to the budget preparation where we kind of
do
put
the
it on them.
teachers say that I guess I want their input on whether they feel that they're able to do what they feel would be most beneficial for the students with the monetary constraints. I don't know that I guess that's sort of a budget item, but I want to make sure that it's their input, that I don't know how that input is derived.
So I guess perhaps we're looking for information more to look at the future and maybe next year's budget conversations, since we can't really make changes to that at this point. But I think having the information, or maybe, you know, looking at that and looking to the teachers to say, has this been sufficient, would be helpful information to have
That's what I
for
would like
next
if
year's
possible.
budget conversations.
I will say that when it comes to budget and that kind of stuff, we figure it out. If, you know, if it's something where the teachers want it and it fits the criteria, then we'll figure it out financially.
Is that communicated to the teachers?
That I don't know.
Can it be? I think the teachers are the ones that need to know that. They're the ones that are going to be doing the planning and the implementation, and maybe it is communicated, I don't know. I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to make promises, obviously, that you can't fulfill by
Right.
having an open invitation for all field trip ideas, but I think if there's some encouragement at all grade levels to think that this is a priority that's been expressed, you know, out of classroom experiences that are meaningful to students, be creative, come up with plans, submit them. You know, maybe it's not, you know, telling them that we'll find a way to fund it, but saying, yes, we encourage more thinking about what field trips might look like and, maybe increasing opportunities in the next several years. Maybe that's the message to send out there.
And then just one item on that old business. I know we had noted on the utilizing the SROs and their function in the districts and that the information was sent, so we had gotten some of that information, but I had also asked for more information on what, presentations or activities they're really participating in the classrooms for the schools, how are they going into the actual classrooms? What information are they presenting on? How are we utilizing that? Because it is a part of our contract, and I think it could be really helpful to have those SROs be providing information to the students, and also I think providing those presentations will also help to build relationships so kids are very comfortable going to our SROs whenever they need them. So I just want to make sure that that is still being worked on so that we get that information.
Okay. We good on old business items for now? Okay. We have a hearing and petition form here from Ted Smith. Ted, welcome. Come on up.
Hi, guys. Just a few easy things. Thank yous, basically. There's a lot of people that need to be recognized tonight. First, the 3 board candidates who stepped forward. As everybody sitting up there knows, and then these guys are going to find out, it's a long, arduous, often thankless job. And they step forward. They come from different backgrounds, different experiences, but all 3 of them love their community very much, and we're all very glad they stepped forward to fill a couple of seats that are vacating after years of service. So thanks to Kristen and Bray, too, for spending such a long time. There'll be time to thank you more properly later, I'm sure, but thank you both, and all 3 of you. Next, everyone's working on the budget. That was a long, arduous process. We're not to the finish line yet, but just sitting out here every time, I just appreciate all the rigors back and forth, all the going back to the drawing board stuff, trying to find compromise. It was nice to see. Debbie, you still here? Thank you for all your years of service. All 3 of my kids were at Becker. They loved you. You did a wonderful job, so thank you for all your years of service there, too. Jean has led the Code of Conduct Committee here, and I'm telling you, sometimes these meetings feel like a road to nowhere, but this one doesn't. It feels like a road to somewhere. So thank you for leading us through that. Hopefully we'll be making a dent in these things that need denting. The phone clampdown here at the high school that some of you are aware of, administrators have really clamped down. I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from people about that. I shared it with our administration this morning. It seems like behaviors are down, concentration is up, even kids are expressing an appreciation that the phones aren't everywhere, so that's good progress. A little quick push for continued conversations on those yonder bags. I know those conversations are happening. I think it's a worthwhile thing for everyone to consider for all our kids. This week, there was an awards for PE and leadership called the Capital Zone Sandra G. Morley Awards, which I'm sure some of you heard of. Maybe you guys are going to mention it. I don't know. I don't want to step on your lines here. But that was very cool to see. A lot of our PE teachers were there. It's an HVCC. Kids from all over are there. And it was really cool to see all the teachers showing up on their own time to support their students. Middle school play again this weekend. You should come out and see that. Miss Kobelar has been working very, very hard on that. I lobbied hard for the role of Daddy Warbucks, but they said no. And finally, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So I want to thank all my members for all the hard work they do in what is a very difficult, trying job under difficult circumstances post-COVID. And also I want to thank the PTOs and PTAs for recognizing us this week. It really is heartwarming. Some delicious food, some fun little surprises. It's really nice to see. So thank you all for everything you do. That's it.
Thank you. Anything else from anybody? Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Melanie, second. Bray, all in favor? Aye.